Hi everyone, my name is Tracy and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome to this video. This is going to be a really exciting one because I'm going to be discussing a topic that has been very prevalent in my mind for a couple months now, for a while now, and this topic has kind of been in the works. I always knew that I really wanted to make a video on this. And I just, for some reason, never got around to it until now. So I finally wrote my script that I have here, and I'm excited to be filming this video. So welcome. I hope you enjoy it. But anyways, today is going to be a very interesting video, as I've already mentioned before. I'm going to be talking about curiosity and exploration within humanity, sort of like a mindset that we've all seemed to have lost, I guess. But anyways, this video was actually inspired by the movie Interstellar. That is one of my all-time favorite movies ever. I tend to love sort of sci-fi movies and psychological thriller movies. So Interstellar was definitely right up my alley because it was a mix of both sci-fi and psychological thriller, and I love all those types of movies. But anyways, there was a specific quote in the movie that Matthew McConaughey's character says, and I'll read it to you now. I have it here. So towards the beginning of the movie, he says, "We used to look up at the sky and wonder at our place in the stars. Now we just look down and worry about our place in the dirt." So that quote really spoke to me, and I would like to replace a part of the quote with something else. So I'll just read it again, but this time I'm going to replace the last bit of it with the word smartphones. So the new quote that I'm going to be reading is, "We used to look up at the sky and wonder at our place in the stars. Now we just look down at our phones." So that is a quote that I made up. I just kind of took Matthew McConaughey's original quote from the movie and replaced it with looking down at our phones instead of looking down at the dirt. And the reasoning behind me replacing dirt with phones is basically in the movie, Matthew McConaughey's character is a huge sort of space advocate. He has this sense of adventure in him, and he finds it miserable being a farmer and just constantly worrying about his crops. He really doesn't, basically they have like climate issues, and the movie takes place way in the future where farming is very needed in society, but he finds it, and basically like NASA is not funded anymore, but he finds it to be miserable to just kind of live out the rest of his days being a farmer. And he has like a sense of adventure and curiosity and exploration in him, and he believes that he can go out there and go on this mission and find another exoplanet that humans can hopefully move to and survive, since the Earth is no longer really habitable as much anymore in the movie. But I was kind of taking that meaning in a different way, where although we have been experiencing a rapid acceleration of climate change and all these horrendous things, especially with the political climate in America, I felt like nowadays, although climate change isn't really as prevalent right now in our current era of time versus how prevalent it was in the movie, due to the advancements of our society, especially our social media and our cell phones or smartphones, we don't really have a sense of adventure and curiosity anymore. I feel like humans have become so robotic in a way, and it's really quite sad. So I guess I'm hoping that this quote from the movie Interstellar kind of speaks to you as much as it really spoke to me. And that's why I kind of wanted to start off this video with giving you that quote and sort of to let it sink in and let you think about it as you're watching the rest of this video. But in my opinion, I think that this quote from Cooper, who is the character that Matthew McConaughey plays, it really captures something deeply human and deeply universal. We've always been explorers, seekers of meaning, mystery, and wonder. But somewhere along the way, we stopped looking up. We stopped asking questions. We became so overwhelmed by information that is readily available to us, and we've become so glued to our screens, and we forget how to be curious. So now I'm kind of going into like the different chapters of this video. So the first chapter I'm going to be titling is Convenience versus Curiosity. So currently we live in an age where everything is available instantly. If you want to know something, we Google it. If we're bored, we scroll. And while that accessibility is certainly incredible, it also diluted our natural urge as humans to explore, to sit with questions, to search not just for answers, but for understanding. We've replaced our curiosity with convenience, and in doing so, I think we've lost something truly sacred in being human. The next chapter is called Rediscovering the Joy of Learning. And this is sort of where I'm going to be talking about myself and why this video really means a lot to me. I've started to fall in love with learning again, not in a structured academic way, but in an intuitive and personal way. Lately, I've been reading and listening to more about philosophy, theology, psychology, anthropology, astronomy / astrophysics, and art history. I haven't been doing this to be productive or to perform. I have been doing this just for the joy of simply expanding my knowledge in things that interest me. There is something deeply grounding about learning just because something calls to you. And I think that kind of learning brings a quiet confidence, sort of a depth that no algorithm can ever truly give you. So the next chapter is called How to Reignite Your Curiosity. And this is where I'm sort of going to go into giving you small ways that you can sort of enhance your own personal curiosity and your own journey of learning things that really call to you. And I believe learning can actually be fun if you do it in an intuitive way like I have been. So you don't need to have everything figured out. You can just start small, such as reading a book that catches your eye, whether you're scrolling around or walking around Barnes & Noble. I personally love Barnes & Noble. That's definitely my happy place. Or going to your local library. I love going to the library. That's also my happy place as well. You can also watch an informative documentary. There's a bunch of really cool, awesome documentaries on Netflix, even on YouTube. And you can follow whatever rabbit hole on a topic you've always wanted to understand. Go down a rabbit hole, go research a topic that you find to be super interesting and watch like a billion YouTube videos on it. I think going down rabbit holes can be a really fun thing. And it's a healthy way to distract yourself from sort of the current day and age that we're in. But it also gives you more depth and personality as a human, and it makes you kind of less boring, I guess. But yeah, whether, as I've mentioned, libraries, podcasts, YouTube videos, or just taking a long walk with thoughts in your head, thoughtful conversations, let yourself wonder again. Because learning doesn't need to be formal. It just needs to be honest and true to yourself. So I know whenever we think about learning or researching, we think of school. And trust me, I've always hated school growing up. Even throughout college, I despise school. I only did it because my family kind of forced me to, and they wanted me to certainly have an education and degrees and credentials in my life, but I have always hated school. I've always been pretty decent at it. I've never really had like bad grades or anything, but I've never ever enjoyed school. I've just sort of gone through it, and that was it. It was kind of like checking off like milestones or a list of to-dos. It didn't really feel like I was learning anything that I wanted to learn, and it did not feel aligned with who I am as a person and what topics truly interested me. Well, in college, I did do a second major in psychology. I did a double major in business and psychology, but psychology was more of like the fun major that I did because my business major was so excruciatingly boring that I felt like I wanted to learn a different major, a different topic to make school a bit more interesting and not feel like I'm just here and feeling miserable all the time. So I really did enjoy my psychology path. But now that I am all done with school and now that I'm an adult, I have the time and the flexibility and the freedom to learn whatever I want. And I've been really going deep into different rabbit holes about philosophy and theology. I've been learning more about Greek mythology. I actually recently just watched a Netflix show called Chaos with my partner, and that show is so good. If you're looking for a new show recommendation, I highly recommend Chaos. It's a Netflix original, and it just came out recently, a couple months ago, towards the end of 2024, I believe. And it's so good. If you're really into theology and Greek mythology, I think you would really, really enjoy that show. I certainly did. But yeah, I've been listening to Neil deGrasse Tyson's podcast on Apple Podcasts, but also I've been watching his YouTube channel as well, where he posts the video formats of his podcasts. And that's also been really interesting. And I've been able to learn so much because he has all of these guests on, and obviously he's a very accomplished individual himself. And I've always found astronomy to be very interesting. What's funny is when I was a kid, whenever anyone asked me what I wanted to be when I grow up, I would always say I wanted to be an astronomer. I wanted to work for NASA or something along those lines. I used to go to my local library as a kid with my grandma, and I used to check out all these astronomy books, and I would have a little binder of sort of paper and a notebook where I would write down notes. I would read these astronomy books, and then I would write down notes of whatever I found to be very fascinating and interesting and things that I wanted to just sort of keep for myself to reference later on down the line. And when I was in high school, I also joined an astronomy club, which I thought was really fun. I was the treasurer for the astronomy club too, because I'm a huge nerd like that. But yeah, I've just feel like I've been filling my time up very intentionally and intuitively, and it's just been so much fun to feel like I have been spending time doing healthy things, like learning about topics that truly interest me or reconnecting with my inner child through learning about these things that always fascinated me as a kid. And I feel like throughout my whole life, I've been so numb, I guess, to the idea of learning because I've only ever thought of learning and associated that with school and whatever school forced you to learn. But now as an adult, I feel like I'm reclaiming learning for myself, and that has been so fun and exciting, and it's definitely made life more interesting for me. But anyways, I'm gonna sort of go into my next video chapter titled Surround Yourself with Depth. One of the most fulfilling parts of this journey is connecting with others who carry that same quiet curiosity. People who love talking about ideas, who value depth, who see learning as a lifelong path, not a checkbox. Whether it's the arts, humanities, or sciences, surrounding yourself with people who are curious can change you. It deepens your worldview. It reminds you that we're all still students of life. And so I was going to create a separate video on this, but I think I'm going to just mention it in this video anyways, and I might create a video on this somewhere down the line. But I created a Bumble for Friends profile because I have been wanting to find more friends around my local area that share the same interests and hobbies as me. I'm a very spiritual person, but I also love sort of like this academia style of learning, not school academics, but like, the arts and the humanities. I love art history, I love philosophy, I love theology, psychology, anthropology, astronomy, whatever, you name it, as I've already briefly mentioned before. And I obviously, as a very spiritual person, I love nature. I have been trying to cultivate a more intentional life, a more peaceful, present, and mindful life. I feel like I've just been in hustle mode for so long and in survival, fight or flight mode for so long. But now that I'm done with school, I'm done with grad school, and I'm working my first corporate job, which is fine. Like I don't hate my job. I do like it, some aspects of it, but I don't want to make my job or my career my whole identity or my whole life. I'd want to find pockets of joy outside of my professional life. So I made like a little Bumble for Friends profile to hopefully cultivate more genuine connections and friendships, rather than just hanging out with old high school friends or college friends that don't really align with who I am now as a person. Although I am very lucky that my best friend also shares a sense of curiosity and wonder and exploration. He's very similar to me as a person. He is an artist, so he actually studied art in school, and so he's a professional artist, and he has such a way about him that I truly admire. He loves music. He obviously loves art in terms of studying the techniques behind paintings and famous artworks. We always go to museums together, and we will spend the whole day just perusing around the galleries and just discussing each individual piece and artist. And I'm more into the sort of the art history aspect of things, and I love theorizing about what each piece means. I'm a very theoretical, philosophical person, while my best friend is an artist, so he is more sort of into the techniques and how the artist painted each piece. And so we'll kind of come together and we'll just discuss each painting for literally hours. And that's definitely a hobby that I love doing with him, is to just go to all these museums with him and truly just take our time and look at each piece and discuss each piece and each artist and their different styles. And yeah, it's so, I don't know, it feels like romanticizing life when I'm able to do these things. So I'm really lucky that I have a best friend that is very similar to me in that aspect, but I've been trying to cultivate more friends that are similar to my best friend and to me as a person. So I'm gonna probably make a video on this later in the future, but this is kind of just a brief mention of it. But yeah, if you want to find similar friends and hopefully cultivate more meaningful friendships, I do recommend going on Bumble for Friends and finding people who are like-minded in your area. That's been really fun for me. But yeah, now I'm gonna sort of go into the final chapter and end the video, but these are sort of just my closing reflections, and I've titled this choose depth. In a world constantly begging for speed, stimulation, and surface level distractions, choosing curiosity is an act of rebellion. Choosing depth is powerful. So if you've felt disconnected lately, whether tired, overstimulated, uninspired, or burnt out like I have, maybe this is your sign to slow down, to look up again, to wonder, to read, to question, to fall in love with learning and exploring. But not for achievement, but learning for the soul. Because the truth is, we don't need to know everything. We just need to be willing to explore. And I really do hope that this video resonates with any of you out there. I feel like this topic means so much to me. I am most likely going to be making more videos along the lines of this video topic because it's just so, it's what I'm passionate about. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Thank you for spending the time and this moment watching the video with me. And until next time, I hope you stay soft and curious and never stop looking up at the stars. Never stop wondering and exploring whatever speaks to your heart and to your soul. So thank you so much again for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Bye.